The hospital room was silent, except for the steady beep of a heart monitor and the occasional rustle of sheets. John, a man once full of life and laughter, now lay frail and pale, surrounded by tubes and machines. Nurses came and went, checking vitals, adjusting IVs, but he hardly noticed. His eyes remained fixed on the ceiling, distant and empty, except when he spoke one name softly under his breath, Max. It was the only thing he said anymore. The doctors had told the family the truth. John didn't have much time left. But amid all the farewells and prayers, he didn't ask for anything. No last meal, no final words. Just one thing. He wanted to see his dog. "He's not asking for a miracle," his daughter whispered to a nurse. "Just for Max. Just one more time." No one could ignore the weight of that wish. But time was slipping away. Max wasn't just any dog. John had found him nearly 10 years ago on a freezing winter night. The pup had been shivering beside a dumpster, ribs showing through his muddy fur, eyes full of fear. Most people would have walked past. But not John. He knelt down, wrapped Max in his coat, and whispered, "You're safe now, buddy." From that moment, they were inseparable. Through every high and low, Max was there. When John lost his job during the factory shutdown, Max would curl up beside him, offering silent comfort. When John went through a painful divorce, it was Max who kept him going, nudging him to get out of bed, to take that morning walk, to just breathe. Even when John had his first health scare 3 years ago, Max never left his side, sleeping beside the hospital bed for days. Neighbors called them the old soul and the loyal shadow. Wherever John went, Max followed, head high, tail wagging, proud to belong to the man who had once saved him. But deep down, John always believed it was Max who saved him instead. Their bond was more than man and dog. It was family, loyalty, and unconditional love woven together. Max wasn't nearby anymore. After John was hospitalized, Max had been taken in by John's sister, nearly 2 hours away. The hospital had a strict no-pets policy, especially in critical care units. And now, with John's condition worsening by the hour, time was a luxury they didn't have. His daughter had already asked, twice. She pleaded with the staff, explaining the situation, begging them to make an exception. But policies were policies, and rules couldn't bend, even for dying wishes. Every time John opened his eyes, he searched the room hopefully, but Max was never there. John's silence grew heavier. He no longer responded to visitors. He no longer ate. His world was slowly slipping away, and the one thing he longed for was still out of reach. Outside the hospital walls, life continued. But inside, a man's heart was breaking, not from illness, but from the aching absence of his best friend. John's daughter, Emily, couldn't take it anymore. Sitting at her father's bedside, watching him fade, she felt helpless. The doctors had told her he might not make it through the weekend. And yet, all he wanted, his only wish, was to see Max. That's when Emily made a decision. "To hell with the rules," she whispered. She grabbed her keys, called her aunt, and said, "I'm coming to get him." The drive was long and heavy with emotion. As if sensing the urgency, Max grew restless during the ride, ears twitching, head turning at every sound, eyes locked on the road ahead. He hadn't seen John in weeks, but it was as though he knew. Emily kept glancing at him in the rearview mirror, her heart pounding with both fear and hope. Back at the hospital, a kind nurse secretly agreed to help. "If you're quick and quiet," she said, "no one has to know." As they pulled into the hospital's back entrance under the cover of dusk, Emily looked at Max. "Ready, boy," she whispered. Max let out a soft whine and pressed his head against her chest. Together, they were about to break the rules. For love, for family, for one final goodbye. The hospital hallway was dim and quiet as Emily walked beside the nurse, her footsteps quick and nervous. Max trotted beside her, leash loose, but his movements full of purpose. His nose twitched with every breath, as if following an invisible scent. When they reached John's room, the nurse gave a small nod. "Be quick," she whispered. Emily opened the door slowly, her heart in her throat. Inside, John lay still. His skin was pale, and the beeping of the monitor was slow and steady. Emily stepped aside, and Max walked in. At first, he paused at the foot of the bed. Then, as if something deep inside him awakened, Max jumped up gently, placing his front paws beside his best friend. "Dad," Emily whispered, unsure if he could hear. But then, something changed. John's eyes fluttered open. His gaze, once vacant, focused. And then, he smiled. "Max," he whispered, barely audible. His hand lifted, trembling, and Max leaned into it. The old dog let out a soft, whimpering sound as he nuzzled into John's chest. The machines beeped faster, not in alarm, but in life. Tears streamed down Emily's face as she watched her father stroke Max's fur. The room, once heavy with silence, now felt full of love, of memory, of something no one could explain. For the first time in weeks, John looked peaceful. He wasn't just alive, he was present. Doctors and nurses peered in from the hallway, stunned by what they saw. A man reborn, if only for a moment, by the touch of his loyal companion. No one spoke. They didn't need to. The silence said it all. Something extraordinary had just happened, something that no medicine in the world could have done. In the hours that followed, something shifted. John, who had barely spoken for days, now whispered softly to Max, his fingers curled into the dog's thick fur. Nurses checked the monitors in disbelief. His oxygen levels had improved, his heart rate had steadied. No one could explain it. The doctors called it a temporary spike, but Emily knew better. It wasn't a coincidence. Max had brought him back. As evening settled, John's voice grew a bit stronger. He asked Emily to sit beside him, asked for water, even chuckled quietly when Max sneezed on his pillow. The room felt warm again, almost alive. The man everyone had nearly said goodbye to was holding on, and for a moment, it seemed like hope had returned. But just as quickly as it had come, the moment began to fade. John's breaths grew shorter, and his eyes dimmed once more. He looked at Max, his smile still lingering. "Thank you," he whispered, barely audible. "You found me again." Emily gripped his hand tightly as Max laid his head gently on John's chest. There was no panic, no alarms, just stillness. A peaceful silence filled the room as John took his final breath, surrounded by the love that had meant everything to him. Max didn't move. He stayed there for hours, refusing to leave. It wasn't just goodbye. It was something deeper, something sacred. The reunion had come too late to save John's life, but not too late to give it meaning in the end. After John's passing, Max refused to leave his side. Even during the funeral, he lay quietly by the casket, as if guarding the man who had once saved him. Everyone who attended could feel it. This wasn't just grief. It was devotion. A bond that didn't end with death. Emily brought Max home with her. But something had changed. Max wasn't the same carefree dog he once was. He spent his days curled up near John's old jacket, or staring out the window, waiting. But then, one day, Emily had an idea. She began taking Max to local hospitals and nursing homes. And just like that, Max found a new purpose. Wherever he went, he brought comfort, lying beside patients who needed peace, sitting quietly with those who were lonely. Max had been John's miracle. Now, he was becoming someone else's. John may have been gone, but his love lived on, through Max. Some say dogs are just animals. But anyone who's truly loved one knows, there's so much more. They feel our pain. They share our silence. And sometimes, they heal us in ways even medicine can't. John's story wasn't just about a man and his dog. It was about loyalty that didn't fade, love that didn't let go, and a goodbye that turned into something eternal. Max didn't just comfort John in his final moments. He gave those moments meaning. Because sometimes, a dog doesn't just walk beside us. Sometimes, he carries our heart the rest of the way.